News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and now 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
A savage beating lands a Missoula man in jail on assault charges. Good morning, everyone. It's Montana Morning. It's Thursday, May 28th. 2015, the sky is overcast. We did have a little bit of a flood advisory last night, but that has been canceled. Right now it's cloudy and 49 degrees in Missoula. Our newscast sponsored by Kootenai Creek Village, the maintenance-free active adult community in Stevensville. Call 777-5387. This morning's top story, 27-year-old Daniel Martin was charged in Missoula Justice Court yesterday with felony aggravated assault resulting in permanent or life-threatening injury and partner or family member assault. At his court appearance yesterday, Deputy County Attorney Brittany Santorno asked Judge Marie Anderson for a high bail since Martin was a repeat offender.
The defendant is a danger to the community. He perpetrated a brutal assault on the victim, breaking her jaw by kneeing her multiple times. The victim was vomiting after, and her lower jaw was moving freely. She had to have her jaw wired shut after being seen in the emergency room.
Santorno said drugs and alcohol were both involved in the incident.
He's clearly a danger, not only to the community, but also the victim, and he needs to be monitored if he's going to be released.
Martin, who appeared without a public defender via video from the jail, told Judge Marie Anderson that $50,000 bail was, quote, crazy, end quote, and that he requested a more reasonable bond so that he could continue working. Judge Anderson set Martin's bail at $50,000. He was remanded back to the jail. His next court appearance will be June 6th. A 52-year-old Great Falls woman has been charged with deliberate homicide and the stabbing death of her boyfriend. Diana Jo McClammy made an initial appearance in district court yesterday via video from the Cascade County Jail. She did not enter a plea. Her bond was set at $250,000. Prosecutors allege an intoxicated McClammy stabbed 53-year-old Lewis Diamond in the chest Friday night, about an hour after police had responded to a reported domestic disturbance. The police report said McClammy told officers that Diamond had assaulted her. Officers saw no sign that she'd been injured, though. They said Diamond was not intoxicated and denied the accusation. Police told the two to separate for the evening. Court records say the manager of the apartment building called police about an hour later to report the stabbing. Yesterday, Commissioner of Political Practices Jonathan Modell said his office will be reactivating a complaint against 2012 Republican gubernatorial candidate Rick Hill for accepting a $500,000 donation. Modell told KGVO News that he put the original complaint in suspense while the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court was looking at the issue of limiting campaign donations.
Now that the decision has come out and it has voided the federal court order, that means that the campaign contribution limits are in effect and were in effect at the time that Mr. Hill took the $500,000 contribution.
Montana Republican Party Chairman Will Dayshaw wasted little time in responding to Modell's action.
My concern with the Commissioner of Political Practices is that he's kind of jumping the gun, in my opinion. This court case is still in court. And it still has to be decided by a judge. It just has to be decided by the judge one way or the other.
The ruling by the three-judge panel from the Ninth Circuit Court could make it more difficult for states to defend their restrictions on the amount of money that individual donors can give candidates in state elections. A Haverman has denied charges that he falsely reported his income from 2009 through 2011. Darren Miller, the acting CEO of the Rocky Boy Health Clinic, pleaded not guilty to 3 counts of income tax evasion yesterday during his arraignment before U.S. Magistrate Judge Jeremiah Johnson in Great Falls. Prosecutors allege Miller reported just over $302,000 in income over the 3 years and paid just over $48,000 in taxes. But he had actually earned $90,000 more over the 3 years and should have paid another $41,000 in taxes. His trial is set for August 3rd. Many Montana representatives are accusing the Obama administration of federal overreach after it announced new waters of the U.S. EPA regulations yesterday. Attorney General Tim Fox claimed the new regulations threaten state sovereignty. Senator Steve Daines said they represent, quote, an extreme agenda, end quote. And Congressman Ryan Zinke accused the administration of being, quote, lawless, end quote.
I'm concerned. It's a lawless administration in many ways. And this is what occurs, I think, when it's an administration out of control and they're on an agenda. Water is tremendously important in Montana. You have, obviously, agriculture. You have recreation.
Zinke argues the U.S. Supreme Court has twice ruled to limit the federal regulatory power to navigable waters. It says he fears that the new regulations are a backdoor to even more federal control.
They had the federal government come in and say, now we're going to regulate intermittent streams. We're going to regulate standing water, cow ponds. To me, it's a backdoor to regulate groundwater, and I think it's a legitimate threat. And Congress, I think, will adequately rise and make sure that this president doesn't overreach.
Zinke says he expects Congress to take up the matter when it comes back in session next week. Students at Lincoln Elementary School will not be taking a field trip to the Glendive Dinosaur and Fossil Museum this year, after a letter from a Washington, D.C. activist group warned the school field trips may be against the law. Americans United for Church and State Associate Legal Director Alex Lukeneister explains.
We received a complaint about a public school that sent third graders and fifth graders on field trips to a local museum that promotes creationism. And such field trips are a very clear violation of the U.S. Constitution.
The Glendive Museum says its mission is to, quote, glorify God as creator and sustainer, emphasize man's accountability to him, to affirm God's revealed and inspired word as the preeminent source of truth and authority, and to challenge mankind to think through the assumptions and consequences of the humanistic concept of evolution, end quote. Lukeneister says a public school should have no part in religious doctrine.
Public schools are prohibited by the Constitution from promoting religion in any way or religious doctrines in any way. And biblical creationism is plainly a religious doctrine. So to take students on a field trip to a creationist museum is a very clear unconstitutional promotion of religion.
KGVO News reached out to the museum for a comment, but they refused, saying, quote, it's really a situation involving the school, end quote. For its part, Lincoln Elementary has stopped all field trips to that museum. Our News Talk time now is 6:12.
News Talk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Partly to mostly cloudy skies today with our high temperatures in the low 70s. Scattered showers and thunderstorms develop this afternoon and linger through the early evening hours. Lows will drop into the upper 40s. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for KECI 13.